This year's Illini men's basketball team is very, very good, but are they soft?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can help support the program by just simply hitting that like button and that subscribe button, and it'll send this show off to other Illini fans. I have a fun episode for you today. I'm going to be talking about me rewatching the end of that Tennessee game, and it's something that I noted in the post game that I just kind of want to expound a little bit more on. And also, we're going to take a look at why I'm so excited for next year's football season. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, so Illinois is now 7-3 for the season, and the new AP rankings came out today. And unfortunately, and honestly, I am a bit surprised, Illinois continues to not be ranked. I thought they would probably sneak into the top 25 after that big victory over the Wisconsin Badgers, and then really just losing in the last second by 2 points to the number one team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers. But apparently, the media and the writers don't agree, and the Illini will go one more week without being ranked. Getting back to the game against Tennessee, let me phrase this one way. I'm very positive on this basketball team. Nothing has changed my mind in thinking that this would be my odds-on favorite to win the Big Ten Conference by the end of the season. A lot of you in the chat, in that post game, were not very happy with me because I had such an optimistic viewpoint of that game on Saturday. Of course, I was bummed out that we lost, but I kind of took it as a big picture type of thing. I really appreciated how hard we played in that game. And again, just taking the number one team in the country to the wire for me was a moral victory, which I know some of you don't quite believe in, and I completely respect that. But having said all that, and me establishing I'm very positive on this basketball team, I do have concerns that are starting to pop up. And that's mainly wondering is if this basketball team is soft. And by this basketball team, I kind of mean our two best players. Usually, a basketball team will take on the identity of its two best players. And for us this year, it seems like those two guys are going to be Kasparis and Tommy Evicic. Now, Tommy, I've made this comment before. He started off the season as our, in my opinion, best player on the basketball team. Obviously, now over the last 4 games, Kasparis has kind of taken hold of that mantle, which is what we wanted. In order for this team to be at its peak, we need Kasparis to be the man, the alpha on this basketball team. So I don't mind the fact that Evicic has taken on more of a complementary role. But I am kind of concerned that now back-to-back, Tomislav has not had very good offensive games. In his last 2 games, the one against Wisconsin, he was 4 for 12 for 9 points and 11 rebounds. The rebounding has been there all season long. He's gone 5 straight games with double-digit rebounding. So luckily, that isn't as big of a concern, unlike some other starters that we might have on this basketball team. But it's the scoring. And again, I got to rewatch the last 5 or 6 minutes of the Tennessee game, which is what I'm going to kind of focus on for this segment. Tomislav is just one of those guys who he was feasting on the smaller teams, right? The teams that we're supposed to beat and honestly supposed to dominate. And that's really what he did. Started off the season with 14 points, 18 points, 20 points, 14 points. He was taking care of business against the teams he needs to take care of business against. But now, as the schedule gets tougher, and the quality of big men that the Illini are going to be facing gets better, I seem to notice something that Tommy's going to have to work on for the remainder of the season. Now, let me be honest with you. When I say, are the Illini soft, it comes with a bad connotation. It's okay to be soft when you have this much talent. But at the same time, this is something that I'm only pointing out so that you, the viewer, moving forward when we watch the games, I want you to let me know whether you see what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing with Tomislav is, again, when he gets shoved out of position, he had the softest touch earlier on in the season. He was money almost every single time. Now, with the big guys, it seems like they're able to shove him with their forearms or just kind of box him out a little bit more. And even the simplest shots for Tommy are just not going in. He doesn't really use his size to get closer to the basket. Instead, he kind of lets the other guy win, and he'll force himself to take a little bit more difficult shot, even when it's in close. And when he's missing those shots, you can kind of see his confidence level go down because he starts resorting to shooting threes. In his last 3 games, he's 3 for 12 from the 3-point line. And this was a shot that was going in early in the year. And again, for me, it's just I'm starting to wonder if he feels like he's not getting the points that he was getting nearby the hoop. And so he's resorting to those 3 points. Just overall, his confidence level seems to be coming down a little bit. And talking about Kasparas, again, he had a great stat line. Don't get me wrong, but Kasparas was as big of a reason that we lost against Tennessee as anybody right now. And that is actually a compliment to Kasparas. That's how good of a basketball player he is. In what I actually referred to as a bad game, he had 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Again, when I say he's one of the 10 best players in the country, I might be underselling him. He is probably top 5 and a guy who I think by the end of the year will be contending for player of the year. But, and this is something I'm sure all of you agree with, he's not a perfect player, and nor should he be. He's 18 years old, right? And again, that's why take this criticism as me trying to be constructive. This can absolutely change. What holds true for Monday, December 16th, or whenever you're watching this, doesn't necessarily need to hold true on January 16th, or hopefully by February 16th. A lot of these things are kind of changed. Kasparas right now tends to be a little careless with the ball. And I don't know if his hands just aren't that strong, but he's someone who does get stripped more often than he needs to be. And again, for me, it's just he's one of those guys, and I hate to resort to the prototypical, European basketball player who's kind of soft and he just complains to the ref all the time. Luka gets that treatment all the time, and I feel like I can say this because I'm actually a big Luka fan. He's actually my favorite basketball player in the NBA. But there are similarities there, and I do think that I'm kind of worried that between Tomislav and Kasparas that there may be a need to kind of physically toughen up a little bit more, because if your 2 star players are getting bullied, then that might have an effect on the rest of the team. And again, it's hard for me to talk about this because it's not really quantifiable, right? Some of you guys might be writing a comment on this video saying I'm making that up, that Kasparas is tough as nails and he makes clutch shot after clutch shot, which he absolutely does. I'm agreeing with you there. I just think that, mentally he's very, very strong, but I just don't know if he has to work on, just adjusting to how physical the game of basketball is here in the United States, right? Tommy and Kasparas both excelled in European basketball, but European basketball, it's more skill and more finesse. Whereas the basketball played here in the States, which, by the way, they've transitioned fine, like 85%, right? Like, I'm not saying that they've struggled in any sort of way, but it's just the brand of basketball that's being played over here is a little bit more physical. And I do think that their adjustment to that part of their basketball game so far this college basketball season still has a little ways to go. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my take. Again, this isn't a critique that I think is damning in any sort of way. I love this basketball team. Nothing has changed my mind. I said this during our Tennessee postgame. I'm more optimistic on our season after watching that game than I was 24 hours prior. I've been watching a lot of Big Ten basketball. I'm going to be bringing in JR from the Big Ten Huddle every single week. We're gonna kind of talk about the Big Ten Conference as a whole. So I've been trying to do my homework just for you guys, so I don't feel like I'm talking out of my butt. This Illinois team has as high a ceiling as anybody, in my opinion. Higher than anybody's. And so take this as constructive criticism, and I might be wrong. You let me know what you think in the comments. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Arguably, the biggest news from Saturday was during the first time out, Luke Altmaier came onto the court and they did a little video presentation. And Luke announced that he was going to be returning to the Illini for the 2025 football season, which is obviously breaking news, right? I did a video live immediately as it broke while I was watching the basketball game on my phone. So again, content all the time. If you're looking for Illinois content, please make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. It should be somewhere up there, immediately when news breaks. But I talked about how important that Luke Altmaier returning was going to be. Last I checked, we could have 9 starters, both on offense and defense, returning next season. 9 starters. So you're talking about 18 starters from a team that went 9-3 last year and is going to be playing in a very good bowl game against South Carolina in the Citrus Bowl. And the emphasis that I have on Luke Altmaier coming back, I wanted to kind of talk about why. I meant to get to this earlier. I believe about a week or 2 weeks ago, the Illini released their football schedule for next season. I never really got a chance to go game by game, but I'm going to do that now just to show you guys why there is such an emphasis on trying to be as good as we possibly can be and build a team around Luke next season. And I want to show you guys the schedule. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I got the schedule right up on the screen. If you're listening to this audio-wise, I'll try to talk about game by game who the Illini will be facing off next year. The season opens up against the Western Illinois Leathernecks. We follow that up with a game at Duke. Then we have another home game against Western Michigan. Then Big Ten season opens up, and we go to Indiana. We invite the USC Trojans at home. We'll be playing at West Lafayette, at Purdue. Then the Ohio State Buckeyes will be coming to Champaign. Then we'll have a bye week, followed by a game at Washington and a home game against Rutgers. And then we'll have another bye week where we will follow that up with Maryland at home, then at Wisconsin. And then, of course, the final game of the season will be against the Northwestern Wildcats in Champaign. Now, taking a look at that schedule, that's not a very scary schedule. In fact, I would say it's a much easier schedule than the one we had this past season. The only game I'm looking at when I see the schedule that I can count in as probably a loss is Ohio State, right? I mean, Ohio State's a team that very well could win the national championship this year, but who knows? We might have some magic from back-to-back years. We beat Michigan at home this year. Maybe we'll be able to take care of the Buckeyes next season. I'm not optimistic, but I do know I will be at the game. But when you look at everyone else, sure, I would probably rather swap out the at Duke for another MAC game. That's not a game I'm looking forward to, but at least their quarterback just recently announced that he's transferring. So hopefully Duke will be kind of rebuilding. But otherwise, Indiana Hoosiers were playing there. But is Curt Cignetti going to be able to repeat the magic that Indiana had this year over 2 next year? I think Curt's a fantastic coach, but admittedly, I am kind of in wait and see mode. And I do like the fact that we have so many players returning, whereas the Indiana Hoosiers, they won't be. Curt brought in a lot of his guys from his previous stop at James Madison. And he's going to be, I believe he's going to have a brand new quarterback and going to have to replace a lot of that roster. But then besides that, you talk about USC Trojans, who there seems to be a lot of chaos around that program right now, and people just wondering if Lincoln Riley really is going to be that guy. He can't go anywhere because he's got something like a $70 million buyout. So they're kind of stuck with him. At Washington's not going to be an easy game, but they're also a team that's just kind of rebuilding now. They've got a couple of decent recruiting classes coming in, and they might be a younger team, which is why Illinois, as more of a veteran team, I would argue, I'd have to see the stats on this, but we're probably one of the most experienced teams returning into the Big Ten next season. So I like our odds in that. Of course, this is all preliminary, right? We don't even know what these rosters look like yet. The transfer portal literally just started a week ago, and there's going to be new guys who are coming in and new guys leaving. So this isn't a really game-by-game record prediction episode just yet. But after Washington, we have Rutgers, Maryland, at Wisconsin, home against Northwestern. I mean, the most ideal scenario there is you can honestly picture a win against everybody except for maybe Ohio State. This year, our over-under was 5.5. Illinois finished at 9, and everybody was shocked. Now here on December 16th, if you told me that looking at this 2025 schedule that Illinois finished with 9 wins, I don't know if I would be that shocked. I'm very curious to see what the over-under is going to be set by Vegas for next season, because 9, I feel like I can comfortably count 9 wins on this schedule. Again, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you see 9? Am I being a little too optimistic? Maybe. But again, for me, it just shows that why getting Luke was just so incredibly important. And that's why, as good as our wide receivers room is with the young talent, it just makes so much more sense to try to go ahead and bring in a bona fide number 1 guy. You may not be able to find another Zachary Franklin or a Pat Bryant, but you want to do the next best thing. We have a lot to sell, right? Again, a returning quarterback who is a star, one of the 5 best, if not higher, quarterbacks in the Big Ten Conference. We're going to have so many returning starters, as I mentioned before. This is a team that, who knows, could make a conversation to be in the college football playoff next season, trying to sneak in at, the 11th or 12th spot. Especially, if you win 10 games, you only lose 2, you're going to be in the conversation. And again, that just kind of shows you where Illinois is at as a program. Brett's got us way ahead of schedule, and this is just one of those opportunities where things worked out in our favor. That 2025 schedule does not look very intimidating. In fact, this is why I think the program in itself is being so aggressive with the transfer portal. Now, we haven't gotten the commits like some of the other teams. I think Minnesota had 6 commits today. Wisconsin's had a couple commits over the weekend, and here in Illini Nation, we're just kind of sitting back and waiting to hear some of the guys that we might be able to get. But I just think that our main targets, nobody has really gone committed to somewhere else yet. So it's a simple matter of it's a waiting game. Obviously, Brett, we're waiting on hearing about Xavier Scott and Gabe Jackas. Are they going to be returning? From what I gather, I feel very confident in one of them coming. The other, I'm not so sure. Basically, they're trying to wait and find out what kind of the draft grades that they get from the NFL. They've already applied for that just to see, whether they're satisfied with where they think the NFL thinks that they're going to go, or if they should come back for another year. But regardless, 2025 has the potential to be an absolute magical season. And we're bringing back a lot of talent. That schedule looks nice. Now it's a simple matter of Brett being able to bring in the final couple pieces in order to kind of elevate this team from being 9 wins as a surprise to 9 wins as an expectation. It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. And that'll just about wrap it up for today's edition of Locked On Illini. Please, again, if you don't mind, just make sure you are subscribed to this channel. We have a daily Discord. Shout out to my Discord community where we talk Illini sports all day long, as well as professional sports and life in general. So if that's something you're interested in, please find the link in the description. We'd love for you guys to join us. Thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Chamon puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're going to have a very busy week this week. We'll still have Big Ten Ted in at some point this week. JR from the Big Ten Huddle will be coming to give us a glimpse of what the basketball season is looking like as a whole for the Big Ten Conference. Big game against Missouri this weekend. Something certainly I will be previewing. If you have a favorite writer, a Mizzou writer, content creator that you would like me to have on the show, please let me know. Again, it's my show, but it's just as much your show. I appreciate all of your guys' support. This community has been amazing, and I hope you guys can help me reach my goal of hitting 2,000 subs before the end of the calendar year. That's all I have for you today. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.